Happy update, wife, F33, and I, M34, decided to try 4 kids last year. Found out I'm completely infertile without surgery. 5 months later she got pregnant. She thought that a nip as soon as possible was a great idea. As long as we also get some kind of counseling together. Glad to see this was her attitude. Oh good, I was hoping for a positive update. I'm waiting for the update, where he tells us we are all invited to the baby shower. Therapy is definitely the way to go. But, regardless of how sound the advice given here is, friendly internet strangers are still strangers. The screen presence can sometimes create a chasm between individuals. Glad to hear things worked out for ya. Dude. Therapy can be a great way to work through things in a safe environment. I know you're not big on therapy, but it won't be like you see on TV. It's a place where you can talk with someone who knows what they are doing and they can help you work through these problems. Depending what kind of therapy you do, they can even provide you with practical tools you can use in the moment when you are feeling that anxiety to help alleviate it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is probably the most common type of therapy for anxiety, and it will absolutely give you tools to use in the moment. Consider a therapist that specializes in that. Acceptance and commitment therapy is also an excellent choice if it works with you. And I find the less structured method of it much more accommodating for most people. Another thing to consider. As I know it's big among a lot of the male population, going to therapy doesn't mean you are less of a man or masculine in any way. It's like getting a financial advisor. Except they help with things like emotion/mental things, rather than your money. Source, licensed MSW. I'd pin your comment to the top if I could. Thank you for posting this. Therapy is still so stigmatized, at least in the US. But it really isn't anything like TV/movies portray it as. It's hard. For sure. But 100% worth it to improve your life. I say this as a patient, and not a provider. It takes a big person to admit they're wrong, and have an open conversation about their feelings. That's the most baddest thing you can do, Mo. I feel that literally almost everyone can benefit from talking to a therapist. It's a place where you can identify and talk through anything, as well as discuss, develop, and implement strategies and actions to make positive changes in your life. Like with crying. Seeing a therapist doesn't make you less of a person. Or less of a man. It makes you a human being that cares. In this case, that cares about improving the quality of your own life. And the lives of those that you touch, jiggity. And while you are being asked questions, you're still in charge of what happens there. And what happens outside of that office. If the first therapist you try does not give you everything that you feel you need, there are other therapists out there. Everyone is different. And sometimes it takes a few tries to find the right one. Extremely well said. And I totally agree. I'd love to see more coverage for mental health on insurance policies as well. I love the update, and I'm so happy it all worked out. However, on a more serious note, I would suggest you go to counseling. Based on your last posts, you need to work past your issues that you had with your ex. The level of anxiety you've carried the last few days isn't healthy for you or your pregnant wife. It's clear that it's not something you really worked thoroughly and is currently impacting your marriage. Best of luck on fatherhood. I'm glad it worked out. All I can suggest at this point is to remember that you're not the only person that went through a traumatic event here. Your wife did as well. She realized her husband does not fully trust her. Regardless of whether it's within your control or not. Please keep the lines of communication open with her and spend time together to rebuild that trust for both of you. Been following you for a few days. Glad you are feeling better and congrats again on being a dad. Did I miss the part that confirmed he was the dad? They agreed to take a non-invasive prenatal paternity test, NIP, as soon as possible. So I'm assuming she's confident he's the father. I think you should go to therapy, if not for your sake then out of respect for your wife. A therapist can help you unpack the wounds your ex left you with, so that you can prevent yourself from taking problems you had with your ex out on your wife. Like it or not, You started punishing her for a crime she didn't commit, and it's on you to prevent that from happening in the future. Yes, my husband and I have had numerous fights that were ultimately the result of his insecurity from his past. It hurt our relationship unnecessarily. Go to therapy, either individually or as a couple, and untangle those old emotional knots so you can move forward. It's so worth it. Even a few sessions will help. My husband was able to pinpoint unresolved issues he didn't even realize were there. And I have a greater understanding and compassion for his struggles now. Everyone needs guidance from time to time, and there is so much to gain by seeking it out. So glad to hear you two were able to talk openly about this. Congratulations. Huh. I checked in for an update the same minute you posted apparently. Lol. Congrats on working things through though. I'm sure you're gonna be a great dad. Same. Glad my first Reddit post of the day while taking my morning S was this one. Are you me? Other people take shits. Are you me? 2. I definitely had a feeling that the money transfer was related to appointment costs. But obviously it did look a little weird. Fertility is very tricky. Unless the medical condition is absolutely 100% guaranteed to cause infertility. It's never impossible, like you said. Really the only way it's certainly impossible for sperm to pass through is pretty much if there's no vas deferens at all. My mother was told her tipped uterus would cause infertility. Here I am. My mill had her fucking tubes tied and still got pregnant. And obviously the infinite stories there are about the vas deferens repairing itself after a vasectomy and causing pregnancy. Hopefully you can now settle your anxiety a bit and further deal with how that past trauma affects you going forward. Now, focus on being excited about baby and caring for your wife. I think the wildest story was from Radiolab where a woman had an experimental procedure to remove, store and reimplant a small strip ovarian tissue in her abdomen for possible later IVF while she had radiotherapy for cancer. They didn't even know the mechanism that it happened, but she got pregnant soon after the reimplantation, lost the first to a PET scan since they assumed she couldn't get pregnant. Right after that she got pregnant again. A few months after that birth she got pregnant again. Did the eggs get in her bloodstream and somehow find their way to the right place? Did they come off the strip of tissue and just wander around her abdomen and end up in the right place? Bodies are weird. The viscous and hateful comments towards the wife from the previous thread seem even more deplorable than they did at the time. Next time consider just talking to the woman you're married to and want children with instead of asking a site populated by teenage incels to be judge, jury and executioner. Edit, as others have said. I genuinely recommend therapy either alone or with your partner. Getting to a point where you accuse your partner of getting pregnant by another person is way beyond normal trust issues, and I can guarantee your wife will not soon forget this incredible display of publicized suspicion. The comments in the previous thread was ridiculous. If she knows of his infertility, it doesn't make sense that she would happily tell him she's pregnant. Even when she agreed to paternity test and addressed all his concerns and jealousy. It is somehow still suspicious because she is saying all the right things. Then someone mentioned the money may be for a paternity test. They all jumped on some scheming evil soap opera of her getting her affair partner to do the test with her to fake the test result. Because they can draw blood separately. How does that even work? Wouldn't the clinic technician notice they're drawing blood from 3 people for a test meant for 2? None of it made sense. She also seemed to me like she was answer all of his questions and concerns in an understanding manner. But all sounds so muffled from his perspective. She knew about my insecurities and addressed it. What does that mean? She says she'll get a paternity test. What does that mean? She took money off the joint account. I haven't talked to her about it. What does that mean? Just communicate. The internet can't read minds. There's something fucky going on here. Why is everyone reacting to a post that's basically good news everyone? My wife said it's cool, as if this guy was absolutely nuts for having thought anything else. Any number of things could happen between now and when those test results get handed to Opus. Just bizarre how everyone thinks it all worked out when he still knows nothing. Yeah. Starting to believe this is just a creative writing exercise now. If it's real, congrats. Your life can be directly made into a shitty Lifetime movie. Because that's precisely how this all reads. It reads more like some really passive aggressive gaslighting from Op's wife. Suddenly this is about his trust issues. It's equally likely it's fake though.